Hello, everybody, and welcome to this new day in the Global Legal Tech Hub Week. Today, in our table, we will look for new experiences. This table is called Lessons from Other Sectors. This means what could we, from the legal sector, learn from other sectors, such as health, hospitality, banking, and so on. So in this table, we have in streaming connected from France, I think, Marjorie Colas. Marjorie is responsible for legal transformation and innovation at AccorInvest. AccorInvest is a hospitality company, hotels. They deal with more, I think, than 750 hotels, mainly in Europe and America. Isn't it, Marjorie? Well, then we have Mariel Vázquez. She is the Digital Customer Experience Director at Savia. Savia is a 100% digital company, belongs to MAPFRE, MAPFRE Health. MAPFRE is one of the biggest insurance companies, and she works in the health sector, okay, let's say, digital services.
Thank you very much for inviting MAPFRE and inviting Savia to this session, and thank you for inviting me.
Okay. Thank you and welcome, Mariel. Then we have Álvaro Gómez-Meana. Álvaro is the Clinical Innovation Director, okay, yep, at Quirónsalud, Quirón Health. Quirón is the biggest hospital group in Spain, and with Fresenius Helios is one of the biggest hospital chains in Europe.
Correct. Okay?
Yep. So you will tell us about clinical provision innovation.
Delighted to be here, Jorge.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Álvaro. And here we have Azahara Muñoz. She is the Product Strategy Director at Mitek Systems. Mitek Systems is a tech company helping many sectors, in this case banking, in matters like identification through bioindicators and so on. And she has accompanied banking sector in their path through digital innovation. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you very much, Jorge, and thank you, the organizers, for inviting me here today. It's a real pleasure.
Okay, thanks to you. So let's start with you, Azahara. Banking is usually the first sector in adopting new technologies, new digital channels to approach to their clients, digital experiences, and so on. So what is now this sector, banking, focusing on now?
Yeah, so I would like to start saying that obviously in the last few years, I'm going to talk and explain from my experience working with banks and financial institutions for many years. Obviously in the last few years, it's been quite focused on concrete in the identity space. So, but when you think about it, when banks started the digital transformation, right, one of the first things that they needed to think about it was how to onboard customers online, right? So this is very important in terms of the challenge. But I would say that the banking and financial institutions, well, I would say any company really, there are 4 areas of focus at the moment. The first one would be related to customer acquisition, so revenue, increase revenue, get more people in. The second one, I would say, is related to risk, so it's like getting the good actors in, keeping the bad ones out. And that can apply to a variety of things. Could be like credit risk in terms of how to use, the different data assets that are available at the moment to enhance the affordability checks, or it could be related to an authentication. So I'm going to give you an example. So you lost your passport or you lost your phone. How do you authenticate again and re-verify again within your bank, making sure that you are who you say that you are, and it's not myself who has stolen your phone and want to start spending your money. The third one, obviously, is compliance, so quite a big focus right now, so following the rules. And I would say the last one is customer experience. So obviously, that is a really hot topic. How do you enhance the customer experience across the life cycle and across all the channels? So when you go to a branch in a bank, the experience must be slightly similar to when you onboard online or when you call the customer center, right? So all those four, I would say, are the primarily focus. However, from the experience that I see right now, and this is something happening not only in Spain, but I've seen this trend in many countries in Europe and as well in the US, is related to fraud. So obviously with the digital adoption means as well an increase in the several forms of fraud. One of them could be synthetic fraud. It's a hot tendency right now, which is money mules, which means that what we see currently happening is that fraudsters are going to students or vulnerable people, and they pay like 200, 300 euros to open up a bank account. So the process that the bank has implemented at the point of the onboarding, point of application, they were totally correct. So it was that person onboarding. But then what happened is that they transferred that account to the fraudster, and they used to commit like fraudulent transaction and anti-money laundering. This is a hot topic right now for the banking industry, how to mitigate fraud. And of course, technology can help with that. Years ago, Jorge, I'm sure, or Álvaro, or Mariel, or Marjorie in the phone, we were like, how we operated this was we were always going to the branches, right? So probably the people working at the banks, they knew us, so we didn't have to identify ourselves. Now it's becoming a real problem how to mitigate that online.
Okay, so identification, fraud, security. Well, as far as I see, legal matters are around us everywhere. It doesn't matter the sector.
Absolutely.
That's right. Marjorie, hello, bonjour.
Hello, bonjour, hello everyone, nice to meet you. Well, nice to be with you.
Thank you very much, Marjorie, for being with us today here. Marjorie, you are in the hospitality sector, okay? You work at AccorInvest, okay? Dealing with hospitals. And you are the digital director in legal matters in Accor, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yes, okay. Hospitality sector started long ago its way through digitalization. What's the state of the art now in your sector?
Yes, because you know, for hotels, I think that we all know that for check-in, it's well, since years now, we have distribution channels, and this is a quite complicated system because as clients, we don't see it, but with international clients and a lot of channels entering into the hotels, because you need to gather the bookings for one hotel, and we have a lot of actors in the sector. So since a lot of years, we have digitalized the distribution channels, and for all the bookings arriving into an hotel. So this part is quite old now. With COVID, COVID allows us to digitalize the client journey, because before that, I think people, and I'm including in it, we were not so aware of digitalization, but COVID helps us a lot. So since COVID, we tried to digitalize the client journey with online check-in, online checkout, everything you can ask to the hotel from your own room with an app, for example. So the client journey is ongoing, and we have a big challenge with the back office. We call back office all the administrative support that is not seen by the clients, but it's really important for our employees to help us to be more efficient in their work.
Okay, so digitalizing the physical experience. When we think about digitalization, it seems we are talking only about digital services and on the internet or via WhatsApp or so on. But I see that digitalization of the physical experience is something we should look forward to. Okay, thank you, Marjorie. Álvaro, clinical services, hospitals.
Yep.
Did you feel the COVID impact?
Absolutely. I mean, you can imagine, right? So if there's one sector that was really highly impacted by the pandemic, was definitely healthcare.
Okay. So
But
sorry. Go
No,
on.
I was just going to say, I mean, if there's just one thing I can say positive about the pandemic, was it really was a catalyst to most of our digital services. So it really made all the resistance that we found before among professionals, it really became really demand. So lots of people who were, reluctant to really assume some of the digital services, overnight, they were knocking on our door saying, please, guys, help me, I need to treat my patients. So,
yes, so the pandemic made more than the transformation directors to transform the company.
Absolutely.
Yes, so medical provision hospitals is traditionally a physical service. You have to go to the doctor, it's quite tangible. So how have you been able to start evolving such a physical traditional service to a digital service?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'm delighted with the mix of sectors you've made. I mean, having Azahara here, banking is always been a sector we've been looking up to, right? Because we always compare, because they kind of, just as you said at the beginning, they're usually one of the sectors that immediately assumes all the innovation, and now we try to do the same thing. I have to say, in the old days, healthcare was somehow considered like the laggard of the sectors in assuming this. But now I don't think that's the situation anymore. So right now, for example, things like AI is something we're really taking a huge advantage for. I mean, we really take a lot of those things that are there, and we know there are lots of things that traditionally were in person, just as you were saying, but that now can be done digitally. I mean, just to give you a few examples, for example, in Quirónsalud, we're making a lot of focus on what we call not in-person services, which means, in the old days, you had a test done, you went to the hospital, your samples were taken, and then a few weeks after you came back to the hospital just for you to say, your test is okay, you can go back. What's the point in me going to the hospital for that? So we're doing that totally remotely. Of course, it's up to the patient to decide how they want to do it. But right now what we do is that we have a patient portal, which is a very, very useful tool and really enables the patient to be an active agent of the care process. So, they decide, and then they find lots of things in their portal, and they can do lots of actions there. So, I have my tests, and I just check the results on my portal. I don't need to go to the hospital to do anything. Same thing with the follow-up visits, exactly the same thing, We go to the hospital, we see the physician. Usually one of the things we do now, and we're using artificial intelligence for that, is that instead of having you in the first visit, have the physician order the tests, we use artificial intelligence in order to have those tests done in advance. So, the day you come to see the physician, you have your tests there, so the physician is able to make the decisions, diagnose, and set your treatment on the very first visit, which is something very positive, both for the physician, both for the organization, and obviously for the patient, which is what we're looking for. So, yeah.
Oh, that's great. We will talk about that
Excellent.
further. And Mariel, well, you in Savia, in MAPFRE Salud, you were born digital. I mean, you have not taken a physically 20th century company, and you have to evolve that company to a 21st company. So you were born digital. So what are the main problems or milestones you have to achieve when you are born digital?
Okay, that's right. Savia was born on February of 2019, so that means that the previous year, we had to work on building on it. And I think that the first thing I would say is that we were born GDPR compliant, because we had nothing. I mean, we built Savia from scratch, which is an ideal situation, of course. MAPFRE decided to create a startup and to try new things in health services, so that we design everything from scratch. So we are GDPR by design, which means, an ideal situation. We had no legacy, of course, so we define everything, cloud, the data platform, the technology platform, everything. And of course, we put the customer experience in the center. And it's not just a cliche or a usual sentence, it's that we build everything from the client, from the customer, thinking, putting ourselves in his feet and trying to imagine how he would feel. The main challenges were we were building a new business, we were building a digital business, so we had to make it profitable. We had to find customers for that, and if we go back to 2019, as he has said, video consultations and medical consultations were not what they are today. And people were like afraid of being far from the doctor and what is this thing about seeing him through a screen. And even professionals, medical professionals, were like reluctant to have these remote consultations. So we had to search for customers, and we decided to create a customer experience strategy, which means let's do what means a service, a real service for them, thinking about customer. And I would say that we follow three main things. The first one is transparency, of course, which means giving the customer information about what is going on, what will be next, what is next step, what he should expect, giving him the guidance and going all the way along with him, you are not alone. It's always this fear of dehumanizing the consultation, the medical consultation, and we had to erase that fear from the customer and from professionals and all that. The second one would be, for me, great, essential for the service, which is immediate feedback. Immediate. I mean, every transaction made by the customer has to have survey just the moment he finishes. We have to put the attention there and to focus where the customer has had a pain or whatever, what he tells us, I don't like this, or I can't find any service or whatever. And then the third one, which is, of course, the focus on data-driven, absolutely. So, I mean, that transparency also means that he's feeling he's not alone, he's not like lost in space and I don't know what is going on. For example, when we finish or when we begin a video consultation, we tell him what is going to be next. And so you're going to have the consultation. At the end of the consultation, if there is a prescription, you're going to find your prescription here in the reports and prescriptions section, which is on the left-hand menu, and you're going to have it there available for 10 days or every step. So that transparency is critical for him to let him be in control of the transaction, of the every operation he does. So transparency, immediate feedback, and of course, data-driven. I mean, those challenges, that challenge that you said that we were building a new digital business, I think that with these three main pillars of the strategy, we began to have customers, we began to have users of the service, because you know that we have like a freemium model. Some of our services are for free, then we get users, we learn from them, and from what they tell us in every feedback that we get. And then we have premium services paid. We also have a market where we sell consultations, even offline, even face-to-face consultations, so that we got to today we have like 450,000 users. That brings us 100,000 customers.
Okay, so thank you, Mariel. Anyway, I keep on with my questions, okay? But please feel free to answer on top of your mates' answers, okay? Don't worry about it. For instance, do you think that laws, regulatory system stop or fosters digital transformation in your sectors? For instance, Azahara, what do you think about that?
Well, that's a difficult question. What comes first, the regulation or the technology? It's a very hot topic at the moment as well. So, well, let me do, like, first of all, 2 observations. Of course, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to talk in from your perspective, but maybe from a product perspective and how regulations might impact as well. So first of all, the 2 observations that I would like to say, the first one is that identity verification requirements in Europe usually come from AML KYC regulations. And I explain that in a moment, why is that important. The second one is the neutrality of the regulation. So in terms of, they are use cases and technology neutral. So what happened is that, obviously, I'm not going to touch a lot on these, but AML KYC regulation will establish the protocols the banks might follow, the risk analysis that they need to put in place for many cases, in the case of the onboarding, how to do those protocols to onboard a customer and the policies. But when it comes to identify a customer remotely, what we see is a lot of difference on the way you do that verification across Europe. So we're talking here about European Union, that you might think that it's going to be quite similar across countries. It's not. It's really fragmented. So if, Álvaro, you go and want to open a bank account, for example, in Spain, it might be slightly similar in terms of you need to obviously show your DNI, so your identity documents, you need to give your information, the wallet would do PEPs and sanctions checks on you, and a variety of things. But here they require video. They call an assisted video. At least the regulator, CEPLAC, authorizes an assisted video like many years ago. But if you go to Germany, BaFin would have something, you will have a completely different experience. It will be like talking to an operator, which is like, in my opinion, a little bit weird because it adding a lot of friction, right, in the customer experience. But this is just a few examples. Then if we go to data protection and privacy laws, that is even like, more complex. So adding all the regulations together is adding a lot of complexity. And it's adding as well like challenge for all the companies really, but particularly for banks and financial institutions that must comply. They are regulator sector, right? So they find multiple vendors that they all claim to be the leaders in the market. So how you difference that you are really the leader or not? New technology, new ways of committing fraud, like the deepfakes, ChatGPT. So it's increasingly the amount of technology that is out there in hands of the fraudsters, it's huge. So how to use that, how to then link to the regulation is becoming really key. And of course, the regulatory complexity in Europe. But if you go to the US, when I was mentioning privacy laws and data protection, it varies from state to state. So it is complex. And what comes first? That's a good question. Really good question.
Thank you, Azahara.
So if I may add to that, Jorge, I mean, the way you asked the question is kind of tricky. Does it help? Definitely in our case, when we develop tools in order to transform our companies and so on, it obviously doesn't help. But of course, compliance is very, very important. In our case, the level of sensitivity of the information we're dealing with, absolutely we need to have, a lawyer there and somebody taking care of cybersecurity. So for us, it's...
Lawyers in hospitals.
Yeah, we have a legal department because
not on the beds. I mean, working with you.
Oh yeah, with some of them in the beds. But when it comes to development, of course, privacy is a hot topic, big topic. So they are we need to count on them. So they not always make our jobs easier, but we definitely understand they need to be there. And of course, they're one of the first people we talk to whenever we start developing things. We talk to the legal department saying, guys, we've got to do this, and this. Is that okay? Because until they tell us everything's okay, we don't move forward. So yeah, absolutely, we need their help. I wish it could be, they could help us a bit more to really comply. But yeah, definitely is something we need to talk to. Okay.
100%, I agree. That collaboration is key, right? Since the very beginning, ideation,
absolutely.
You need to work with those departments, legal and compliance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree absolutely with Álvaro. And the thing is, well, the question was a little tricky. Of course, I mean, it's not a help, but as I've said, for example, we turn it into that transparency, because if you tell the customer always, we are going to have this data of you to use it for this exactly, and you inform and you tell transparently again, this phone number or whatever is going to be used to advise you 24 hours before your consultations or something like that, or to remind you of what is going to happen. Okay, that is absolutely compliant. That even goes further than the law itself, and I mean, it doesn't help, but you have to find the way to turn it into an advantage and well, use it to that transparency and help the customer and make him know in control of the transaction. So
I see. Well, Marjorie, sorry.
I just want to add that I totally agree, and well, we can see regulation as barrier. Well, for hotels, obviously it's one of the other service in business, and for example, today we need to have a reception, physical one, for example, so it's a limitation, but it's true that regulation and GDPR privacy in particular helped us to really show our values to our clients, and it's good in a way that our employees are more aware today about this privacy issue, and clients are quite happy when they see that we are really protecting their data. So it could be, well, it's a barrier, but we can turn it into something really cultural and values for the company.
Oh, thank you, Marjorie. Mariel, you are continuously talking about client. Generally, digital transformation is understood as a kind of technical adoption. Please take some AI, a little bit of blockchain, some big data, and so on, and I am digitalized. What should we think first about? Client experience or technology? Both at the same time? What's first?
well, I mean, the answer is obvious, and you are asking someone from customer experience. So I have no doubt technology is, of course, an enabler, and but you know, the customer is the first, as Barry White says, the first, the last, and everything. So customer has to be not only in the center, but you have to be with him. You have to think what technology, or, I mean, you have to think what journey you define for the customer. You have to think and anticipate and prepare and manage expectations, of course, but you have to define what you would think like the ideal flow, the ideal journey for the customer, and then you have to search for the best technology to enable it. Absolutely. So customer first, customer second, third, fourth, everything. I think that also technology, I mean, digital transformation is not a technological transformation is about being, for example, we have been able to reply and to bring to digital channel the same or the most similar to the same experience as in a physical or a face-to-face consultation. For example, today in video consultations, you're able to not only to talk to the doctor, to send and share reports or results from analytical analysis or whatever. You are able to receive your prescription, and then with that prescription in your mobile phone, go to the chemistry, to the pharmacy or whatever, and get your medicine. So it's we know that from the customers that, for example, every customer that gives takes that journey completely and that faces the doctor through the screen and has this consultation, and this experience saves them, for example, from going to emergencies at night or whatever. and they finally end up with their prescription and they have their medicine like 2 hours later at home, it's a wow experience. We read that from the customers because we read every feedback, and being able to reply all the experience that, a few years ago it maybe thought that was not possible, is awesome. It's amazing. They value that, they feel and they know that there's value on that, so that customers first, technology to do what you define in your journey, then second, enabling everything that you may imagine for the customer. We had to, for example, in COVID, we were born in 2019, and then COVID came suddenly, and we were able to multiply by 4 the services that we had, because as Álvaro said, something that created fear until that time, it was like a necessity. I can't live without having the doctor or talking to a doctor for 3 or 4 months. So technology is absolutely an enabler. You have to define that journey, that ideal journey, and then search for the technology and to, as you say, transform or to do that digital transformation of replying physical life experiences, face-to-face experiences in that digital channel without dehumanization, because that's one main point today of especially in medical services, to not lose that warming sensation with the doctor close to you and all that. And some people, and that comes from the customer also, that they fear to feel a cool relation with the customer, a cold relation with the medical professional, because of that screen that is in the middle of both. Okay. So that now we have to focus on that. Avoiding dehumanization, and I think that we try to balance that with this thing of the guidance of giving him information of at every step what is going on, what is going to be next, and all that. Okay. Like so,
Marjorie or Álvaro, Marjorie, dealing with such a physical service, I have to go to a room, I have to go to a consultation. What do you think is the first step that such a sector, such a service should go through to start its digitalization?
Well, from my perspective, the real, one of the very first things I would mention would be you need to have really the leadership of the organizations really believe we have to transform this sector. And on the other side, I think I was actually about to comment on her answer before. It's really the society, it's really the people who are really demanding this. Our lives, ourselves, our daily lives have really been transformed and far more digital than they used to be a long time ago. So nowadays, we are used to WhatsApp, we're used to, the platforms for media, you're used to banking on a daily way. I can never even think of going to, to a physical bank anymore. Actually, I have to go there. It really gets me mad. I don't want to go there, right? So our lives are digital, and of course, same thing happens in healthcare. So we have our own patients actually demanding these services. If I only want to go if I actually need to go. So I think really our patients really understand when it's really a must. I have to be there. I'm going to be operated, so I cannot do that from home. But any other service that you can provide me digitally that is better for me and is better for you, I think they're happy for that. So I think we have like those two big drivers, which is obviously the patient first, as you said before, first, last, and in between, and of course our organizations. I think our leadership need to really understand. In our case, I can tell you we really feel it that way. They need to go. They understand it really needs to go in that direction. So that would be the key point.
Thank you, Álvaro. Marjorie, your own perspective?
Yeah, just to complete this answer, because I think that user experience is the first thing we need to analyze, but it's true that we need to have in mind that when you have legacy technology, you need to try to anticipate what would be your technology mapping or picture in 2, 3, 4 years, because the issue we have today that we are using a lot of technological tools. Each of them has, I don't know, really concrete things, password, and it's really complicated to manage. We need to think about a technology that allows you to have everything at least in the same place on the same platform, because otherwise we have like a jungle of technologies. It's totally difficult to manage. So it's really important to have in mind maybe 2, 3, 4 years technology mapping in mind.
I see. Well,
Jorge, please,
yes.
if you mind, and I may add. Another thing is, some years ago, anybody could think that it was quite difficult to reply or to make something similar in digital to a physical consultation. The first thing was, to analyze. For example, between 60 and 70% of all consultations, medical consultations, doesn't require any touch, any physical touch. So that's the easiest one. Those are the easiest ones. So we tried to begin with those ones, but then we began to focus, as that one was achieved, we began to focus on the rest. The rest, most of them need something that today technology and devices may help us to do. In fact, we today have dermatology consultations because of devices, specific devices that help the doctor to see even better than his own sight. So we now are focusing on those ones to reduce the medical consultations that cannot be replied. And as we move on and technology goes on and on faster and faster, wearables, insidables, and any other devices help us. Technology enables us to reduce those medical consultations that require physical presence. That, I mean, more and more we
I'm
can do
realizing,
it.
sorry, that the healthcare sector is quite similar to the legal sector. You go to a professional, you are given a lot of papers you cannot understand, and you pray for a good solution of your problem, okay? So video consultation, do you think if we start adopting that service in the legal sector, do you think it will mean a lack of service or a better experience?
I would say, I mean, if we apply what's happening in the healthcare sector, it's improving the experience 200%, in my opinion.
So
we don't give papers anymore, right? Everything is digital, remember? We have the portal, so we don't give papers anymore, but yeah, absolutely, I'm not I'm an engineer by training, but my family, lots of lawyers in my family, and definitely, I think it's actually an environment in which digital transformation could really add a lot of value, because at the end of the day, well, as you were saying, I mean, in health, sometimes you need to touch, but I guess when it comes to legal aspects, I don't think you need to have physical contact that often, right? So, having video consultation or any kind of exchange of information is absolutely applies completely from my perspective, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so, well, just we are approaching to the end of this interview. So, briefly, what are the 1 or 2 best practices from your own perspective you'd like to give to the legal sector to start with or to go on the digital transformation?
I think it's very important to the legal and compliance departments in this case. It's really important the collaboration across all the business units from the ideation stage. So what I mean is that if I want to come up with, and it has a really key role in innovation, in the sense that from ideation, as I would say, so if I want to develop a product, I need legal and compliance to be out there at the very beginning to make sure I'm using the right data, that it can for what purpose. So it's so key, that collaboration across all the departments. And then I would like to mention something else that is related to technology that we were talking and customer experience. I think technology should serve the customer experience. However, I would say that it needs to be inclusive as well. So we really need to bear in mind those people who they don't know how to use the technology and is related always with the customer experience, right? So I would say education as well in there is really key. So collaboration between the business units and then more education on the new technology and how it can be used to protect the consumers.
Okay, thank you, Azahara. Marjorie, your best advice to the legal sector?
Oh, I really try. Well, I've actually tried to implement a lot of legal tech tools. I think that the best way to do it is to use tools that really incorporate the user, the final user of the system, because in fact, in general, legal tech is lawyers oriented, but the lawyers are giving services to their internal clients for in-house counsel or external clients for law firms. And in general, those tools are not taking into account the end user, I would say. And it's really important because otherwise, just creating tools for lawyers, we miss a big point here, and we need to give a great service for our clients. So it's really, really important to include the end users in legal tech product, I think.
Okay, thank you, Marjorie. Mariel, in 1 minute, 15 seconds, your best advice.
Make it, I mean, be sure that it's an opportunity. It's opportunity, only opportunity. Turn it into opportunity. The digital transformation has to bring you new businesses, of course, and well, trying to apply those things that I've said: transparency, immediate feedback, and that data-driven. That will bring you that opportunity to turn what might be a challenge to know your customer even more, better. More frequently, more possibilities to get in contact with him, not in touch, but in contact, to know more about him. I mean, be sure that trying in digital is quite cheaper, faster, learn from that, and begin again, and once and again.
Thank you, Mariel. And Álvaro?
Well, in my case, besides underscoring all the ideas that have been shared by my colleagues, I would say if there's one thing I would recommend is open your mind. So don't assume because you've been doing things in such a way in the past, don't assume that's the only way to do it or it's even the best way to do it. To be honest, in the healthcare sector, you were saying we're very physically in contact with our patients. Believe me, some of the ideas what we brought up in the past, I strongly believe they were not going to work, right? I'm an innovation director, so I should have been there up front, right? And then I was really surprised to see they really worked very well, and really patients were delighted. So that for me would be the best advice I could give you. Open mind, don't assume things are as they are, and just be brave to really assume new risks and do things in a different way.
Okay, so summarizing, design your services thinking on the client. I mean, how would you like your clients to use your services? Be careful with security and digitalize the physical experience. So, Marjorie, Azahara, Álvaro, Mariel, thank you very much for being today with us in this new day of the Global Legal Tech Hub Week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.